Hey everyone, this is Daryl, aka The D from the Simply Incredible podcast, and tonight we're going over UFC 199, Rockhold versus Bisping 2. Decent night of fights, some good knockouts, some decisions, some big news coming out of here as well. Something that I truly think Joe Rogan, when they announced it, did not even realize was happening. So we start off with just the main card. Actually, no, one thing that actually happened in the early card. Sometimes you hear things that you just like. Did I just hear that? Because it didn't make sense. Cole Miller, one of the Mike Greenberg, Goldberg, Mike Goldberg. I don't know why I keep on calling him Greenberg from Mike and Mike in the Morning, but Goldberg. He said Cole Miller is undefeated in 3 of his last 4 fights. Like, who cares if he's undefeated in 3? I mean, he's 3-1. Who cares? Then I went back and looked. He's like, well, one of them was a no contest, so he's really only won 2 fights in that time. I don't know why that just kind of bugged me when he said that, because it's like, just say he's 2-1-1 in his last 4 fights or something. I don't care, but don't say it like that. But anyway, just trying to hype the fight up before Cole Miller ended up losing the fight. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The actual main card, this was out in L.A. In L.A. One thing they made a big deal. They made a big tribute to Muhammad Ali, who passed away yesterday. And man, me being someone that's been in the mixed martial arts for a long time, people like Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, Hoist Gracie, these are people that so many people in the mixed martial art world look up to. And the passing of Muhammad is just, man. It's one of those things that he's up there in age, and he's had Parkinson's for a long time. So Muhammad, I tell you what, you were the greatest. And I said this before on my pages, is both inside the ring and outside the ring. He stood for something outside the ring, and a lot of the athletes today, they stand for nothing outside of it. And he was a man amongst boys in the sport. And sadly, he had 3 years of his career taken away from him because he refused to fight in a war. You know what? That's 3 of the best years of his. And really could have been 3 more years of wins in there. But anyway, Muhammad, we'll miss you, man. We'll miss you. And now with the UFC 199, Rockhold versus Bisping 2. Starting off with in the lightweight division, Dustin. Was it number 11? Yeah, number 11. Sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. It's so bad. Dustin Poirier versus number 13, Bobby Green. This one didn't last long. To be honest with you, I thought Green was going to be the one getting the win in this one. He just looks like a tough dude. And he got caught early, and that fight did not last long. It was 14 seconds. That's right, 14 seconds in the first round. Dustin Poirier, which I know I'm misspelling your name, Poirier, with the win. Wow. I mean, there's not like you can say that happened in 14 seconds, but it was over that quick. And that's all it was. Then they had a nice thing for Muhammad Ali in between these 2 fights because they had some time. But, really impressive stuff. UFC did a great job with the tribute to Muhammad. Then we had number 15 in the middleweight division. Number 15, Dan Henderson versus number 14, Hector Lombard. Man, I tell you what, Henderson is one of those guys that I've liked for a long time, and he's been in it for a long time. He was in the Olympics in '96, I think. I think he was in '96 in wrestling, and he's been in the UFC. It's seemingly ever since. I think he might have been a 2-time Olympian. I'm not sure about that. I know he's at least once, maybe a 2-time Olympian. And Henderson, he's been in so many fights, and his nose looks like it's almost gone over the bridge of his nose, where he's been like it's just broken so much it's almost flat right there. And they just and well, he's been around forever, and he's a legend in the sport, just an absolute legend. And I really expected Lombard to get the win. He's a younger guy, stronger guy, also an Olympian in judo. But Henderson come through, got the win with a second round TKO, and it almost ended in the first round with Lombard getting the win because he was putting a good whooping on on Henderson early. I know I keep looking up here because I don't know why I'm brain cramping right now. But Henderson had a really he got he caught him with a good head kick, and he said after the fight, he said I knew I was gonna catch him with a head kick in this fight, and he caught him with actually a couple of them, which really surprised me because I didn't know he could still kick that high. And he come through and then caught him again. He threw that kick, caught him with the head kick, and come back with a back elbow. And that back elbow finished the fight. And Lombard went straight down. I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. Because at first I thought he swung he got the leg kick, and Lombard caught his leg, so Henderson was coming back to try to kind of like get center to a clinch position. But no, he threw that back elbow, threw it really tight and snapped it right on his temple. And Lombard went down quick, and Henderson got two more elbows before it was stopped. And that was a second round TKO. Again, it could have been in the first, but he went to the second, and Henderson got the win. Good job, Henderson. And after the fight, he said this may be his last fight, which it's one of those things that I have mixed feelings on because I'm a huge fan of his, and I want to see him fight again. But the flip side of it, I don't want to see him fight anymore just because I would hate to see him get hurt in there. It's going on too long. Like some fighters I've seen, they keep going in, and it's past their prime. They can't get it done anymore. So, Hendo, if this is your last one, thank you so much for all these years of just great fighting that you've given to the sport and all the joy and that you've given to so many of the fans. Thank you. If like I said, if this is your last one, you ended on a high note, my friend. Next in the featherweight division, number 4, Max Holloway versus number 5, Ricardo Lamas. This is a really good fight. Really, really good. Max Holloway and his stand-up is really good. And these guys were not afraid to stand in front of each other and duke it out. I mean, just throwing some heavy punches on each other. Basically, with each exchange, though, Holloway was just getting the advantage on each one. His reach is something else. He's got long, long arms, but he also has some snap on the end of his punches. He he was giving them, he was taking them, but he gave a lot more than he took, and it was some good stuff. And one thing that he did do it was pretty much over as long as he didn't get knocked out. But it was about 10 seconds left. He looked at Lamas and just pointed to the ground. Was like, we're gonna do it right here. And they just stood there in the pocket, just flailing at each other, just whamming each other, wild haymakers. It was a great ending to it. And Holloway got the decision, unanimous. All three judges, 30-27. So it was really, really a good fight. Really good stuff in that one. Next, in the bantamweight division, for the championship, we had Dominick Cruz versus number 2, Urijah Faber. Faber, so this is their third fight. The first one was in WEC, and Faber got the win. Then in UFC, Cruz got the win. And these two seem to have no love lost for each other. And this was a really solid fight. I mean, Cruz, I don't know his movement is he's really the most unorthodox fighter that I've ever seen. And I've seen so many fighters. His movement, his footwork is crazy. And every time I see him, his hands are always down. I'm just thinking, just somebody coming in and just nail him with a punch. His footwork is so good that you can't do it. It's so impressive. It's something you watch and you cringe because his technique is just so not there, but his skill is so high. It's an amazing thing to watch. And I'm kind of a fan of Faber at times, other times not so much. But when he's got that chip on his shoulder, I kind of lose interest. But when he's just in there and he's humble and he's doing his thing, I really like him. But in this fight, I mean, it was all Cruz. He had it basically on cruise control. The final, he won a decision. It was 2 judges had it 50-45, and 1 judge gave 1 round to Faber. So, but I mean, Cruz was really just dominating this fight the whole time. And at the end, Faber said it might be his last fight. I don't expect that to be true. He has been around a long time, and I believe this is his either 3rd or 4th title fight in UFC. and he's lost all of them. And it's kind of sad. Someone that is this good just cannot get over the hump and get the belt. It really is kind of sad to see somebody that, I mean, he's so good. But you know what? Again, Cruz is just a little bit better. That's all it is to it. And Faber even said afterwards, he's like, he just had my number tonight. So there you go. In the last fight of the night in the middleweight division, we had champion Luke Rockhold versus number 4 Michael Bisping. Bisping took this fight on, I want to say 2 weeks notice, I believe it was. Either 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. I believe it was 2 weeks notice. And I just figured Rockhold just going to run right through him, finish him quick. Uh, Bisping got the win and is now the middleweight champion. Really surprised at that. Not only did he win, it's how he won. 123 in the first round. Knockout. Wow. I'm going to say ref stoppage. He caught him with like a short shot to the stomach and overhand right over Rockhold's shoulder, right to his chin. Rocked him. Rockhold went down, got back up. Bisping caught him again. Rockhold right back down, up against the cage. And a few punches later, fight was over. And I was like, wow, just wow. Did not expect it. Did not expect it. Congrats to the Brit. Good job, Bisping. You've been around for a long time. I can't remember how many fights they said he's had. And now he's a champ. You know what? I'm not a big fan of his, but I will say this. He's a guy that goes in there, he puts it on the line, and he goes for it. And he got the win. Congratulations, Michael Bisping, the new middleweight champion. So, in the 2 title fights, we had Cruz retaining and Rockhold losing, and Bisping getting the new title. Next event, huge news coming. And like I said earlier, I don't think Joe Rogan even knew about it. They had a promo, and turns out Brock Lesnar, the Beast Incarnate, is coming back for UFC 200. I had heard zero about this, and I think most people had heard nothing about this. And I like I say, I really think Joe Rogan did not know, because he sat there and said, "Is that true? Is that promo true?" And he said, and Greenberg said, "Yeah." Goldberg. Why do I keep saying Greenberg? Goldberg said, "Yep, he's gonna be there," and they don't have an opponent for him yet. So they have less than a month to get that opponent. Maybe around a month to figure out who that opponent's going to be for him. So, I mean, this card is already loaded, and we just put another fight in it. I mean, you're looking at from the headliners, Daniel Cormier versus John Jones for the light heavyweight title. Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes for the women's title. Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar. I mean, great fight. Cain Velasquez versus Travis Brown. I mean, these are all great fights. And I said, was it last pay-per-view? I think it was last pay-per-view. I was like, I don't know how they're going to top that. Wow. That is impressive. That is really impressive. And I may be eating words, because I have just heard that, and they don't have a date yet, that CM Punk may actually have a UFC fight. And if you guys have heard me before, I said I don't think he's ever going to have one. But they're saying that date is getting closer and closer. So maybe I'm going to be wrong on this. So, maybe CM Punk will have a UFC fight after all. Well, from what I've heard, and you know how this works. What I've heard is he hasn't been the greatest in training and stuff, and as far as how he's doing with his team, being like toward the top of his team, ready to compete. But you know what? And he's had a lot of injuries. I heard he had a back surgery earlier this year, and he's had other injuries over the past year and a half, 2 years since he signed. So, you know what? Maybe I'm going to be wrong and eat my words on this, and CM Punk will have that UFC fight. But UFC 200, wow. I mean, that card is loaded. I can't wait to find out who Brock's going to fight. That's going to be so exciting. But all in all, good night of fights. big news. The Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, is coming back. Dominick Cruz retained his title. Michael Bisping is now the new middleweight champion. So, big night of fights. Retaining a title, one losing a title. So, there we go. Good night of stuff. Wow. So, that's all we got today. And you guys have an incredible day.